Hello everyone, I am Dr. Eric Morrison. This is 7 Under 3, and I'll be covering trading education using the TC2000 and TradingView platforms. Hello, this is the Futures Week in Review, and I'd like to cover the COT strategy that I utilize for this particular process. I always look at the percent change in net contracts, COT index, and the delta, and to make sure that it is crowded one way or the other. And the picks that I had for last week, and this is on Monday that I'm currently recording this, and as you can see, the markets are open up last night on Sunday, so I didn't know whether or not the futures would be open either last night or tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and communicate the results from the picks. First one was Aussie dollar. That ended up with a $210 profit. Canadian dollar was the next one. That was a $50 profit. Mexican peso was a $37 loss. South African rand, overall profit $487. Cotton was an overall profit of $1,485. The dollar was a loss of $144. Natural gas is the next one. Overall loss of $370. I don't know what the deal is with orange juice. That short was an overall gain of $4,845. An initial trigger on a delta stack. Palladium, overall profit on a long on a delta stack is $3,410. Russell last week, overall profit of $1,890. 30-year, overall profit $93. 5-year, overall profit of $70. Rice, overall profit of $1,260 for a total of $13,250 on one contract each. There were a total of 13 picks, 10 wins. Win rate was about 77%. So in utilizing the delta stacks, this was rather profitable for last week. As far as the COD indices, there were a total of 3 picks. 2 of them were profitable. Coffee was a loss of $731. And the other 2 picks were Mexican peso and cotton. Percent change stack has been doing fantastic. Had overall 3 picks. All of them were profitable. That was the NASDAQ short. Overall profit of $4,845. Cotton profit of $1,485. South African rand, same as the delta stack, $487. So an alignment of lot size and risk depending on positioning in terms of longs and shorts, the percent change in net contracts, COD index and delta. Nice overall gains for the week. Looking at this week, I have Australian dollar doing rather well. British pound, Canadian dollar has a distribution from last week, so it's going to be fighting its positioning this week. Euro's just kind of stabilizing here on Monday. Not much volume on a holiday. However, there is some price action during today. Don't normally like trading on a holiday when the markets are closed. A lot of volatility with a lot less volume. Looking at Japanese yen, just stabilizing. Crowded short significantly with a nice delta stack. Brazilian real, same. Mexican peso moving higher. New Zealand dollar going against its overall positioning. It has percent change, COD index, and it's just moving up on a low volatility day. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday. Same with Swiss franc. However, on the weekly, there was a major distribution and upthrust on the weekly. So a lot of pressure to the downside, even though this is crowded short. But it's nice up against the daily 200, so we'll see if it just kind of maintains right now until Tuesday. South African rand is kind of mixed. Not much crowding at all. In fact, commercial and large speculators are crowded on the same side. It looks, even after this accumulation that happened on Friday, based on this new crowding on the future, it significantly reversed from Friday. Brent oil to the upside, crowded short, but crude oil is down. So as Brent is up, crude oil is down, and it's matching its positioning. Cocoa hasn't opened yet. Cotton hasn't opened yet. Significant pressure though to the downside. It's up against the Z3. This will make a good short, for the open once it does open, depending on the open too as well. Dollar is kind of flat today. Low volatility, low volume. Market holiday. Markets are not open. Mid cap a little bit up against its overall crowding. Same with the S&P futures. Last week was a down week, long followed by Friday. Mixed with commercials on the positive side, up right now as of last night. Gold also up a little bit on the weekly. Bounce off the RL270 on the daily. Feeder cattle not up or open yet. Lean hogs, huge accumulation last week. Mixed overall. Again, a significant amount of crowding from both large and commercial speculators. That's interesting. Small speculators crowded short. So we'll see what happens here. Some weakness on Friday. Huge accumulation. May be poised for more price action to the upside. Copper had a signal on Friday to the upside. Have an overall accumulation in spring. We have our stop at the low. See what happens. Heating oil, major crowding to the long side with pressure on price action. Made a major low last night. Had an upthrust to the downside up against the 200. And last week also had some more price action to downside. Currently moving up. Natural gas HP pretty much gapped down. So we'll see what happens. Mixed. No trade on that one. Coffee, price action to the downside. Cotton index to the downside. And it's kind of stabilizing right now. No real price movement. Price to the downside on hard-red wheat. Major price action last week. Again, another move to the downside as it's crowded short. Live cattle continuing to move up on the weekly. Getting close to the RL90. We had a spring from last Friday. However, commercials are on the short side. Emerging markets. We have a spring on the weekly. Currently down a little bit. But we got a lot of room to the upside once the markets open up. Natural gas went over. Nikkei continues to move to the upside. Incredible moves to the upside actually. Right up against the Z3. Had a spring back on the 7th of February and continued to move up. Almost parabolic. A nice J hook. Then the last spring in accumulation was back January 4th of this year. Huge move for the Nikkei. NASDAQ to the downside. It's kind of moving up. Same with last week. Crowded long. Nice and clean. Could be poised for movement to the downside. We'll see. Orange juice moving up. Got a doji sandwich here. They have an up thrust from last week. That was kind of a reversal here. The spring was weak. That's mainly poised the upside. The up thrust was weak to the downside. So some consolidation happening right now. We'll see what happens with orange juice. Palladium mixed. Platinum crowded to the long side. However, commercials are above the 6-month average on the short. We do have some price action to the downside, which is good. No actual Wyckoff patterns prior to this last week. Gasoline is down currently. On the daily, we did have accumulation last week, poised to the upside. Russell moves to the downside, even though crowded about 50-50 on the commercials, and we did have a spring up against the RL270 here on the weekly. Housing, we did have an upthrust with a down move, and as you can see, based on the open, it's currently moving to the downside. Sugar, no movement or open, but last week was weak. No Wyckoff indications at all. Commercials above their 6-month average, however, it is crowded short. Silver moving down nicely. Nice bounce off this overall RL270 and 200 at the same time. Perfect entry here for this short. Nice price action overall at $2,150 on one contract. Amazing move. As I mentioned on the stock indices, we're starting to see some 10-year movements to the downside. As you can see, a couple weeks ago we had a distribution with a move to the downside. Last week, similar move to the downside, even though it is crowded short. Treasury bonds, same thing, movement to the downside. VIX, crowded long, seems to be gaining strength. Last week we had a spring, so this could be poised for a major move this week. We'll see. Energy, we had movement to the upside. It's currently moving to the upside. Past week, it is crowded long, however, and we did have weakness on Friday. Financials, same thing. Weakness on Friday. Continued movement to the upside. Balance 50-50 on commitment traders. No real edge. XAI or industrials. Movement to the upside. Weakness on Friday. No real edge. Staples. Crowded long. Commercials above the 6-month average. Still weak. Could be hedging here. As you can see, reverse wedge on the daily with an accumulation on that Thursday. Utilities. Looks poised to the upside with a little bit of strength. No real movement on price. Healthcare, nothing but long on the weekly to the upside. Currently off spring on Wednesday. YM, we have current short, crowded long, weakness with 2 dojis here. A little bit of price action on the holiday to the upside. Nothing of significance though until we actually get major movement. Majority of these futures won't move that much, unlike silver did. Treasury bond, more price action to the downside as you can see, with the yields moving up. Same with corn, crowded short, commercials above their 6-month average and still moving down. Interesting. 5 year, same thing. After a distribution on the weekly, still moving with price action downside, small gainer. Soybean oil, crowded short, commercials above the 6-month average, a little bit of price action to the downside. Soybean meal, price action to the upside, cod index to the upside, commercials on the long side. So nice little move. 10-year note, distribution to the downside, huge move to the downside for the treasuries. Oats, move to the upside. Interesting that both commercial and large speculators are both short. Huge surge to the upside on oats. Looking at rice, movement to the downside. Last week, movement to the downside. Crowded long. Commercials below their 6-month average. Soybeans, no real price action. 2-year, small price action to the downside, just like all the other treasuries. Wheat also moved to the downside after a major upthrust on Monday of the previous week. Last week started its overall move. A little bit different from this week. It's overall price action to the upside. This one just collapsed. So this is the futures week in review. Big hat tip to crowded market report and integrating the Wyckoff pattern recognition with the volume into the commitment of traders, utilizing this as an overall filter for maximizing your probabilities of trades. If you're interested in these kind of strategies going forward, programming in both PineScript or Python, auto trading, or crowded market report, click on the links below. And remember, ruthless risk management. Have a great weekend, everybody. Well, if you like this video, hit the like rumble button below and the subscribe button. And if you want more information, click the course information links below. On the TradingView link and on TC2000, I have an affiliate link. If you open up a TC2000 account, you will receive a $25 discount using that link. Thank you for your time.